Welcome to the Master Passive Income Show. My name is Dustin, and I am super pumped to be at the Wealth Builders Mastermind Summit, where we bring together our mastermind, the Wealth Builders Mastermind, and bring together lots of amazing real estate investors. This is a high-level real estate investing group, and I'm super pumped to bring on a fantastic investor who invests actually in similar areas where I invest, has multiple properties. He actually invests in notes as well, and he's going to come on the show and share with us how he did it, but how we can do it as well, because he's a super genuine, very awesome guy that just wants to help, just like we all do here at Master Passive Income. I have Zimmer on the show. Zach, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, it's been great. I'm enjoying the time down here in this mastermind, seeing a new city, meeting new people. I'm really liking the concepts we're getting into. It's different things, and yeah, just enjoy good people.
And we are literally here sitting in our large Airbnb in New Orleans, and we're literally having the mastermind going on right now. And I said, you know what, I was listening to your story. I was like, I have to share this with the audience because of everything that you've done. But at the same time, I could already tell your heart, like you want to help people, which is exactly why I have Master Passive Income. Okay, so Zach, you're a real estate investor. Can you share when did you start and how many doors do you have or how many properties do you have, just so we can get a context and then we can dive in further?
Yep. So I started in 2012. I had started to hear, and I'm in Northeast Ohio, south of Cleveland, Akron, Canton. I'd started to hear about guys, buying up these $30,000, $35,000 properties, throwing them on Craigslist back then to rent them for $800, $850 a month. And yeah, I did the numbers and I'm like, yeah, these numbers make sense, can make $350, $400 maybe a month in cash flow. And I was like, okay, let's do this, but I didn't have any money. So I tried to get a loan from my dad, and I looked at two crappy duplexes in inner city Canton, and he turned me down. And
Wait, your dad turned you down?
Yep. And I thought he was just, this idiot. He doesn't understand these numbers. Why wouldn't he give me this loan on these properties? And in hindsight, it was the best thing he ever could have done, because if he would have given me the loan on those two D-class duplexes, it would have gone horrible and I would have been done. Fortunately, he didn't. So waited about, maybe 6 months later, I got my bonus. I was an engineering manager, manufacturing company. I got my bonus, and it equated to, I think, just under $20,000. And with that, I bought two C+, B- single-family houses on Huntington 30-year fixed loans.
I've had a loan with Huntington before too, so I know exactly.
I mean, your first loans, you can get those 30-year fixed, and Huntington's great, especially in, I think they call it like some lower income areas. They have some bonuses and things on closing costs. And that was it. That money went to work, got those two properties, and honestly, that's all I thought this was. Like, I thought it was it. We're having a kid. We just bought two houses. We're going to cash flow our, going out spending money for the next 18 years, and then we'll sell them, and that's going to pay for, half of college, all of college, who knows. But that was all I understood at that time. And then probably about another year went by. I found bigger pockets. I started hearing some of Grant Cardone, and I started to think this could be a little bit more. This could be more passive income. I still didn't understand that I could quit this whole career that I was bred with degrees and MBAs and working up a corporate ladder. I still didn't understand that could go away. But you fast forward 4 or 5 years and add 50 more single families into the portfolio, and it's 3 times what I made as a director of engineering, and it's passive. Right, as we found out, we both enjoy doing a lease option, right, where we're looking for an owner-occupant mentality, someone that's going to take care of the home and take us more out of the landlord role and more into kind of a bank role, working with them to repair their credit and then eventually finance them to own this house.
So how many properties do you have total, like right now, for you and your family? Like, you probably have other investments, but like for you and your wife to be able to feed your family, how many do you have?
So it went up to about 60, and I stopped pre-COVID when I started funding syndications. So around that time, I felt I had enough single families. I went into about 20 syndications over 3 years. As I sold off single families to other investors, normally more of the coastal investors that were chasing much lower returns than I was accepting. And so I sold these properties. I sold 10, 15 properties at about 3 times each what I had into them. And that funded a lot of the syndications and the hard money loans. We talked about lending and notes. All these things to just further diversify into the type of investment as well as geographically outside of my local area where I had all those single families. But right now, today, I'm back buying again, and I've come up from 42 back to 46 so far this year.
That's fantastic, and I love the area. So we're in Cleveland, but not Cleveland, but like Ohio, Cleveland, Akron, all those areas. Like Dayton has also got some great Canton. So there's a lot of great areas, but there's a lot of great areas everywhere. I mean, if you know how to buy the properties right, you're going to do well. Now, we talked about something that I did as well. You mentioned this earlier, but rent to own. Now, I'll tell everybody, and I don't tell my students where.
Tell everybody.
Okay. No, well, I'm telling about like where I first started investing. It was in 2006. I had no clue what I was doing. I didn't know what a class of property was. It was a property, like not a good property and a good property. And so I went to Youngstown, Ohio. That's like you told me you grew up there. I was like, oh my goodness, that's so fun. But Youngstown's a really rough area. So what I decided to do, when I say rough, hard to find property managers. There's a lot more crime there. It's probably a D. Yeah. Yes. Yes, everywhere in Youngstown. The hardest thing is finding the right property manager. So what I decided to do, I don't know, like 8 years ago, was I said, you know what, I'm going to do rent to own because I won't want to own these in 10, 15 years. And I'd love to be able to benefit another family who can't afford a down payment, but they can afford rent. So talk to me about, there's so many benefits. Talk to me about all the benefits that you have doing this rent to own or this way to get somebody else into a home where you become the bank.
I mean, I think the biggest reason you're going to initially do it is for passivity, right? To not be having to add in either property manager that's going to take margin by managing it, or to not be handling phone calls around, right? Tenants, toilets, termites, screen doors, ceiling fans, garbage disposals, right? All those things that I know friends of mine that have renters or have pure tenants deal with. And then, there's a second option of, hey, you're looking for the right mentality to take care of it, but you're also going to reward that by giving them, a locked-in place. They're giving them security that so many of these tenants don't get when they get that notice from the landlord, I'm selling the property next month, you're out, right? And that's where a lot of my folks come from, is that happens to them, especially during COVID, right? All these landlords started selling their homes that were worth 3 times. And so I give them that, locked-in contract for at least 4 years of, hey, here's your purchase price, here's your monthly. You want to paint, you want to change flooring, make it yours, and come to me, when you're ready to get your pre-approval, and we'll put together the purchase agreement.
That's amazing, and I love how there are no expenses. It's all cash flow. Obviously, if you have a mortgage, you're paying that because it's your mortgage, but it's all cash flow. And I tell the tenants, think of me like the bank. Like, you don't call the bank if the toilet leaks. No, you don't. Zach, now tell me about the process of scaling your business, because once you get the first or second, third property, most investors they're a mom and pop investor, and they try to muscle through it, and they take all the calls, they do all the work. To get to 60 plus properties, you have to have, you can't do it all yourself. And you want to have a life, you want to have kids. So talk to me about scaling your business, because that's something I love to teach at Master Passive Income, is scaling. Because if you have a business, then that business can't scale. If you're one person, a one-man band, you can't scale. You have only had so many hours a day. So talk to me about scaling your business.
Yep. I mean, the first things was the real estate agent. It took connecting through a couple, went through maybe 2, 3, 4 until I found 2 phenomenal agents that covered kind of the 2 different geographic regions and counties that I was after. It's trusting them to where I didn't have to go look at houses, and I didn't. I stopped looking at houses probably around after maybe 15 or 20 that I would just trust what they told me.
They send you pictures though, right? Or not?
Maybe they're just going through it, and I'm hearing what it needs. They know my costs because they started to connect with the number 2 most important thing, your general contractor. So by having a great, honest, ethical, completely just phenomenal contractor that honestly would get the keys from the agent, would rehab the house, hand them back to me, I put the tenant in, and it's done. And on flips, I never even went to the house or saw the house. I put the agents responsible to pick the materials because I never wanted to hear from an agent, why'd you pick that paint color? Why'd you pick that counter? Why'd you do that flooring? No, you're accountable. You're telling me this is a good flip. You're going to pick the materials inside of my budget with my GC, and then you're going to be responsible to sell the house.
So they would basically make sure that you're going to be making money. It's like,
And you're putting them accountable, right? If it doesn't flip at what we targeted, they can't say it was because of something we did with the rehab.
I love it. So offline, you're going to have to hopefully help me out and give me some good contacts, because when you have a good realtor that's an investor-friendly realtor, because every realtor will tell you, oh, yes, I help investors. Oh, yes, I help. No, not they all don't. They're a precious few that actually do. Okay, so that is a great way to actively make it much more passive, because I like making sure that other people are doing the work. I don't want to do the work. Okay, so in scaling your business, now you also collect your own rents, right? That's not normal when you get to that many properties. How does that work out for you?
So it started with a website called Cozy, which was the best in just simple, great interface, easy for both sides, us and the tenants. And then Cozy was purchased by Apartments.com, which is basically the same, just the interface is a little bit more complicated. But yeah, everything comes through Apartments. Everything's ACH. You can watch when they send. So you can track everything, and then it hits. So yeah, I mean, pretty much I want everybody onto that. I have some that want to pay through some different pay apps if they don't use normal bank accounts. But yeah, I mean, that's the majority of my time is spent just kind of watching the collections and following up with issues. And
would you ever want to let that go and have somebody else do it? Now, not saying you should, because like all my rent to owns, like it's clockwork. They don't want to lose this property. They love that they can do the rent to own. They're paying rent, and eventually they could hopefully own the property when it's all done. And so it's much easier. But the harder parts, like, could you hire a VA to do it? Could you maybe, when a kid gets a little older, just train them to do it or something like that? Or is this something you really enjoy to do?
I wouldn't say I enjoy it, but I think there's a financial benefit to what we do in having leniency with these tenants. There's a reason they haven't obtained mortgages yet, because they month to month have issues. And if I handed my portfolio over to a property management company that has to follow a black and white process of, all right, 3-day notice, and then here's your eviction notice, boom. Like, I know I would have 10, 20 times more evictions a year than I do. What I've found, I work through, every tenant every year has a month or two of hiccups. Something happens, car breaks, kid breaks an arm, and they're going to get late fees, but we're going to work through that and eventually get caught up. And that saves, losing a month or two through courts, coming in, having to recarpet, repaint, just to kick this person out, really drastically negatively affect their life and financially affect us, when if we just would have been lenient working through a month or two with them, we would have got through that.
Well, in these areas too, you do have more than not. I mean, this Akron, Cleveland, they're like C plus, can be B minus, maybe solid Bs. But in general, you're going to have a few more, just because it's not like the suburbs of like San Francisco or something, where they're high rent district.
No, I mean it is. Probably 40% of my portfolio are paying late fees every month. It's a big number, It's a lot of late fees when I sum them up at the end of the year.
In the end, for me, my goal, and it sounds like it's for you, it's to help people.
Doing it, I could just evict, right? If a property management company was there, yes, my late fees would be cut by 75%, and the evictions would be way up, and people would be, that's their record. Now they're not getting a good place for a long time, if ever, once they've been evicted. And so, I work with folks. I like to talk with them. And we've had folks that have gone from, paying late fees every month to, okay, a couple years go by, now they own the house. And then it changes their life.
That's fantastic. I love that we can help families. Okay, so what lessons have you learned along the way that maybe something that really stuck in your brain, like I learned this and this would be a great thing to share for somebody else who wants to scale and wants to become a really good real estate investor?
We touched on it, but we didn't finish it, right? The team, and that was what got me to where I'm at, and that was, two great realtors that looked at houses without me, that knew what we were looking for, a phenomenal contractor, lender, right?
Well, contractors, I'll quickly say, contractors and handymen in that area, they're hard to find good ones that will actually do the work to a quality, but then not just skip out on a job. Even if you didn't pay them, you still owe them money. They'll just leave. So so I 100% agree.
Yep. And before finding my final and best one, the one before that ended up basically pretty much stealing all the appliances out of the last property he rehabbed, broke into it. So there are bad ones, but your contractor and then your lender, right? Your lender that you have that relationship with, that comes over to my house personally to sign the documents. He knows everything going on. And, you have that assurity of, yep, here I'm going to execute this. And then Cardone, 10X book is such a great book to really keep you uncomfortable. Because if you ever take your foot off the gas, especially in real estate, right, where it could take 2 months to close on a house. So if you are overwhelmed and you take your foot off the gas, the next thing you know, there's nothing going on. Because it's that much of a lead time. So you have to keep, that's what I did probably through 2014, 15, and 16, was even though I've got, a vacancy, an eviction, we've got one under contract, we've got another rehab underway, what's the next house I can get under contract? And when the going is good, you got to go, because now we know, man, we wish we would have bought everything back through those years.
Absolutely. I think I stopped buying in that area like 2018, and I wish I would have just kept and continue to buy and buy and buy. But there will be great times coming up. Okay, so you've come to the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference twice now, correct? And now you're at the Mastermind Summit. Talk to me about being around other like-minded real estate investors and what brought you to the Wealth Builders Mastermind.
Yeah, as I quote-unquote retired and left W2 World, I have lost that sense of belong, right? That sense of contribution, that sense of community. I've built a smaller local community, but I've been wanting to try to connect with more folks, especially, that I can help, that I can partner with, right? That I can learn from, that I can teach. Maybe just cool people, right? That we can go, golf and shoot guns and travel together. And so, RubeCon has been, I've been on 2 or 3 podcasts other than yours since RubeCon of meeting, great people that I like their story, they like my story. We're staying in touch. We're learning things. Even a seasoned investor, right, that's already retired, there's still things to learn, right, from your events. And what I like about here is we're not talking necessarily, we're talking maybe 20% about tactical real estate and 80% about psychology, our beliefs, what wealth is, what we're going to do with it, where do we see ourselves. So things that are going to translate to action. And, especially for people that already know some of the things to do, why are we doing it and what are we going to do with that information?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference, I built that. That's like we do real estate. Like you learn, you grow, you connect with other people, and that's absolutely what we want to do for the Real Estate Wealth Builders Conference. Now, for the Mastermind, it was we want to help the person to be whole all over, not just in real estate, like internally, limiting beliefs gone, building themselves up, making sure we have goals and making sure we're moving forward, and then all the real estate will work its way out because we have that perspective that, hey, the world's not out to get me. It could be there to help me. So let me move forward. And so that was the vision for having this high-level mastermind like this. And plus, it's just great getting a bunch of people in one area and really just brainstorming. Like the networking going on after the times that we're actually in session is so much fun. And we go out to dinner. We have a lot of great time. So, Zach, is there anything else that you'd like to share that would help people to invest?
The team was the biggest because you're not going to do it yourself, and the right mindset through, there are so many great books out there to help get you in the right mindset to just keep going. And that's, what are my hindsight things I wish I would have done differently was just, when you find something that works, just keep doing that thing and don't get distracted by, you've heard some of my horror stories of me getting distracted by shiny things that have caused a lot of pain versus just continuing on with single family real estate. And do what works. Don't get distracted by shinier things, and keep going.
I love it. Do you want to share like social? I usually ask like, is there any if you're a podcaster, I would normally ask, how can people find you online? Would you want me to ask that? Because they will. You'll okay, good. And so Zach, you've given us so much great insights and wisdom. How can people either find you online, maybe check you out on Instagram, but more than likely, you're going to be able to help a lot of people. But yeah, how can they do that?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's LinkedIn or Facebook. It's Zach Zimmer, ZACH, ZIMMER. And as we've talked about, I might be building something bigger, that people would be able to come to. But for right now, those are the best places to connect with me.
Awesome, Zach. Hey, it's been so fantastic hanging out with you for these last couple of days. I'm excited we have this full rest of this day. But man, the time goes by so fast because we do so much together, and it's such a blessing. So, Zach, thank you so much for being on the show.
All right, thanks for having me.